So joining me now is my friend and colleague, chief documentary filmmaker here at Rebel News, and my frequent travel partner, Cian Simoni, to discuss the finishing touches he's put on our brand new documentary and the launch. So we're taking it on the road, and we want everybody out there to join us. Cian, thanks for coming on the show. You recently wrapped up our documentary. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, for people who are just finding out about the documentary, and I don't know how you could just be finding out about the documentary, but let's go back a step and tell people about our brand new documentary.
Well, thank you for having me on, first off. Second, so we just wrapped up Church Under Fire, Canada's War on Christianity, which is about, I'd like to say it's about the persecution Christians faced during COVID-19, from congregations to the pastors to just the church itself. But really, it's like a 8-year come back to how it started and how it evolved and what it looked like, and what it looked like during COVID. And we really touch on almost everything we can.
Yeah.
Everything we could fit into an hour and a half.
That was the thing, is like, how do you fit a decade-long creeping attack on Christian churches? How do you fit that into 90 minutes? But I think we did a pretty good job. And part of, I think, the documentary was pointing out that this didn't just happen in a bubble or in a vacuum, that it started sort of when Justin Trudeau took power. And it was all these little picky things at, fringing on people's religious freedoms to get to where we are chaining up churches and throwing pastors in jail. It didn't just happen overnight. It was a slow burn that I think a lot of Canadians didn't pay attention to.
Yeah, when I was editing our intro, and we kind of touch on, when you touch on exactly that, I was looking for some China B-roll. B-roll, for what people don't know, is just kind of the footage you put over top of someone else talking. And I saw these news clips from like 20 years, not even 20 years, like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, of police shutting down churches. And you hear the Chinese translator saying, church is not essential, and your church is now closed. Like, you cannot go to church anymore because X, Y, and Z. And it was like the exact same wording that the politicians in Canada used. And that was like, I was already kind of, what do the kids say now, red-pilled about the whole thing. But just hearing that again while being at like the end of the step of the documentary, I was like, oh, wow, this is real.
Yeah, and that's what it was like for me too, because just before COVID lockdowns hit the churches, because COVID never actually hit the churches, COVID lockdowns hit the churches. Just before then, in late 2019, I had just come back from northern Iraq. And for me, that sort of weaponized my heart against persecution of not just Christians, but the religious, people of faith, because I had seen the end stages of a genocide. And again, it didn't just get there. It started with these little nitpicky rules where you all, after, a decade or so, you end up with ISIS using your church steeple as a sniper's nest. That doesn't just happen overnight. But for me,
or in Ottawa as a weed store,
or
which
as
is what we saw.
we recently just got back from Ottawa, and we're like, is that a church? No, that's a weed store. But and for me too, like, the faith of the Christians to not just survive the genocide in northern Iraq, but insist on remaining, to not buckle, to know that, there will be the next genocide and the next genocide and the next genocide, because there always is there, but they won't leave. They must stay. That sort of hardened my heart, and left me with a certain, I don't want to say disgust, but maybe that is the right word, disdain for Christians here, who we got it pretty good here. And so many churches were scared of Theresa Tam or Dina Hinshaw or Jason Kenney or Bonnie Henry. And I had just come freshly back from people who had survived ISIS. And the Christians here were scared of Dina Hinshaw. And I tried not to have that bleed into the documentary, but it might have just a little bit.
Well, I mean, it has to, right? Like you said in the documentary, and like you just said before, it is that slow burn. It's that, what's that other analogy? It's the frog in the hot water. Yeah, it really is, and it's not a overblown statement at all. And like I'm not even Christian, and I see it so full. Like I see it so clearly. It's I think other people will see it too when they watch the documentary.
Oh, hey, what you just saw there is a clip from my weekly full-length show, The Gun Show. It airs on Wednesday, but this is the internet. You can watch it whenever you feel like. You just have to become a subscriber to our paywalled premium content. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com to become a member today.